right, everybody, it's Paul here for the Christian Rock 20 and CCM Magazine, here with Zahna, and man, we're excited to have you in the studio because, one, we've done some interviews before for various things, but now we actually get to be in the same room, which just feels honestly a little weird, but I like it though. I can get down with this. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be fun. So, Red for War, the new record, dropping on Friday.
Yes.
And so what actually is the date for that? I guess is that the 18th?
The 17th,
The
actually.
17th. Okay, so the 17th. So if you're seeing this after then, of course, you need to pick it up because it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And for those people who have maybe never heard your music before, but they just think, well, this looks interesting, describe what Zahna sounds like.
Yeah, Zahna is kind of a really cool mixture of like hard rock and a little bit of metal influence, obviously female fronted vocals. But I would compare it to like some heavier Skillet. A lot of people call my music very Flyleaf-esque.
Okay.
Or, there's some secular bands that people like Evanescence or In This Moment, kind of a mixture of all of those, I would say.
Okay. Fantastic. Now, what do you think for you is the thing that you're most happy about with the new record? I mean, you've gotten to live with it for a little while because I know it's not just gotten done. I mean, you've had a little bit to sit back and kind of admire and enjoy the work that you've created. What is your favorite thing about the record?
I think that my favorite thing about the record is the diversity of all the songs. I think that being in the music industry for a little bit and, having released an EP previously with the band I was in before, Ilya, it was cool and all, but now kind of getting my feet wet in the industry for a couple years has kind of taught me a few things. And I'm honestly really proud to say this record is just like everything I've ever wanted to put out. It's got its heavy songs, it's got its power rock driven, radio hits, it's got soft ballads on it, and honestly, I love the diversity. So I would have to say that's my favorite thing. You can definitely see the maturity between my last release to now. So that's my favorite thing about it.
Fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to get slightly deeper. Favorite track on the record, and I want you to defend to me why it's the best track on the record.
I can't decide.
I know it's like picking a child, right?
Oh my gosh. I don't want to say this because I am partial to my single right now, Underneath, because it was the first song I wrote for the album.
Sure.
And it was kind of like, okay, I think this song is really good and I think it's good enough where I can maybe start a new project off of it. And it was so ironic because the first two songs I wrote for this project, which I didn't even know it was really going to be yet at the time, it ended up being the singles the label chose to like put out, And I'm like, man, like God just knew. He was like, these are the two ones you need first. They're going to be the first ones. And it was just funny, But there's so much more. Like, I don't want people to think that, Underneath is the best song that's already out, so I don't need to go pick up the record. No, you need to go get this record because I could never choose. They're like my children. Like, all these songs I could never choose. But Underneath I am like very proud of, like I said, because it was the first song I wrote.
Very nice. And that one is what attracted me to, and like a lot of people, I knew you from Ilya.
Yes.
And then I was like, cool, she's got something else going. I hope this is good. Because whenever somebody starts something new, I'm always like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where is this going to go? And I also saw some of the original publicity photos that you had taken. You're like, oh, this is my new thing. I was like, okay. If the photos
might be good,
yeah. If the photos are anything like what the sound is going to be like, I am on board. And then I listen to it, and I'm just going, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Jesus. Testify, this is good. So, what do you feel like has happened? I mean, you released that first single, not really knowing where it was going yet.
Yeah.
Just a little over a year ago now.
Yeah. I just knew that really, like, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite thing about being in music? And it's not touring, and it's not performing, it's not meeting. Well, I do love to meet fans, but my favorite thing about music is writing it. And I just know when a song is good. Like, I'm like, yes, this moves me, because I'm my own worst critic. Like, right. I will trash myself if I write a bad song. And I'm writing this music. I'm like, dude, this is a really good song. Why is it getting stuck in my head if it's not a good song?
Right.
And so I'm just like, yo, if the product is good, everything else will fall into place. So I went ahead and just decided, like, I don't know what's going to happen from this. I know I have a cool vision. Like, I could be this solo artist named Zahna, and I could, finally live out everything I wanted to be and would have an excuse to dress that way because I'm an artist. Like,
it's like, because why not?
Yeah, because it's like, you like this style, you like these, these visuals, I love blacks and reds and whites, and I, really implement that in my brand. But, it's just like, I have a chance, and if this song does well, who knows what can happen. And even if nothing happens, I'm just happy to write good music for people.
Nice.
That's all I care about.
Nice. Now, you also ended up being one of the first signings to Rockfest Records, which I was so excited about. I was like, all right. It's like, now not only is she doing the thing, but she's got some money and backing behind the thing, which makes a huge difference. How did that meeting come about?
Well, honestly, my first tour ever with Ilya, who I was with in 2014, I joined that band and I was in it for about 2.5 years. But my first tour ever in 2014 was with Seventh Day Slumber. And as you know, the singer, Joseph Rojas, is the president of the label now. So right. Ever since we toured with them, he and I just had an awesome relationship, and I mean, he had told me that I really stuck out to him, and there was something different about I guess my persona on stage or something. Okay. I don't know. Right. I don't want to sound conceited when I talk about this. So it's kind of weird. But he had just said that he had followed me, and he followed me through the band breakup, and afterwards my release did really well on the charts, and he has always believed in me. And so I thought that was so important, because it's not just about being good at music. It's about what do you stand for? What's your message? So Joe had always seen what I stood for in music and what I preached about and talked about on stage, and he always got behind that. So, he was kind of watching what the single was doing the whole time. And I think during that time, he had just seen so many great artists that he knew he wanted to do something and help the Christian rock industry. And he just remembered me. And I think January 2018 was when we're like, okay, this record's just about finished. We're just going to release independently, because I honestly didn't think about a label. I just didn't even expect it. I was like, hey, I'm in this by myself. I put the money down. I am the one that's going to be the one to do this myself, and that's fine. But when he came in and stepped in, I was like, wow, I never imagined this, and it was just perfect timing. It was so perfect. So that's how all that came about.
Very nice, very nice. So now there's a funny thing about this, and I know a lot of people just really love talking about kind of people interactions is maybe even more than the products. I mean, we all look at tabloids on the like, well, what are they doing? But you have a relationship with another band member from another band, right?
Yeah. I get this asked a lot, which is awesome.
I'm sorry, it's just interesting and it's fun for me.
I love it.
So tell people what that connection is to this yet unnamed band.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're talking about my fiance, my guy who's going to be my husband in 2 months, really. And
congratulations.
Thank you. His name is Patrick Madsen, and he's the drummer for Random Hero. And really how we met was the summer of 2016. It's a really funny story. So I ended up seeing Random Hero a whole year before I actually met them, because we were on tour with them, and I was like, man, that drummer's really attractive. I'm not gonna lie. But I didn't approach him. I didn't do anything. I'm like, nah, if it's meant to be, it's gonna be.
Sure.
And a whole year had passed, and I found out we were gonna be on tour with Random Hero, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that drummer that I thought was really cute. Be cool, and don't blow your cover, because you don't even know. He might even be married. Like, how do you even know?
Right, yeah.
I didn't know anything about him.
Sure.
And so he was always kind of on my radar during the tour, but it was just like almost immediate, the connection we had, and it was like just the chemistry was there, and we both found out we were from Texas. So after the tour, we just kept hanging out after that, and it was kind of all history from there. We had started dating that summer, and then when we got back, we just, it was more serious, and things just ended up being that we're like, hey, we're both musicians, we're both in this, we're both in the same industry, and we really love each other. So like, yeah, it just works, and I think that's really just an act of God, and you don't really find that that easily. So yeah, and he's proposed in last September, so it's gonna be about a year coming up for that, and then like a couple weeks we'll be getting married from that anniversary. So yeah,
nice, very cool, very cool. And he's also he and one of the other Random Hero guys were kind of involved with the making of the record too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So after after, Ilya disbanded, it was kind of like, okay, now what do I do? Am I just going to retire music, or am I going to, figure out? And I knew I wasn't done in music. I knew I had so much more to say. And I knew that I was able to record a record. I had done it before Ilya. Actually, that record that what was released actually was me writing it and giving it to the band when I joined. Sure. So I knew how to do it. And I was like, look, I've done this before. I can do it again. And this time I'll just call myself a solo artist, And Patrick was just so involved in the process of the creation of Zahna, And he really got Bertrand into it. And Bertrand has recorded many female vocalists. Joshua Bertrand, he's also the guitarist of Random Hero. And he's also a producer. So he's recorded many female artists. And I feel so comfortable working with him. It was just, we were making magic in the studio. And I think once they realized like how awesome these songs were, because I already knew they were going to be awesome. They started realizing and getting really invested in the project themselves. And especially when the label stepped in, they're like, okay, yeah, there's something to this that we want to be a part of. So I consider them my band members, and, get them when I can for tours and stuff. Yeah. So it works out. Nice.
So now once you guys are actually married and all that good stuff, you get that done. So how often is it just going to be a somewhat of a given that you guys will end up touring together, Random Hero and Zahna at the same time?
I think for the first year, both being Rockfest bands, it's very likely it's going to happen a lot, We're just kind of figuring things out as we go. It is a little scary to tread in that territory because it's like, but we're musicians, like we never know. Even like married or not, like you just don't know what's going to happen. Sure. And we a year ago didn't even know we were going to be signed to this label. So like things change all the time. You just kind of got to go with the flow and, see what's going to happen. So, but I think for 2019 and most of it, like it's very likely Random Hero and Zahna will be touring together.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I'm going to ask one more Random Hero question that's related, and then I'm going to move off from that. But are there going to be any Zahna guest vocals on the next Random Hero record?
I don't know, actually. They're still writing their new records, so I couldn't tell you. I can tell you, though, that I'll be on the Amongst the Giants record, because we just did that last night at the studio. So I think I'm clear to tell people that. So I'll be on one of the Rockfest Records bands albums, so that's cool.
Sweet. Guest vocals always just make me happy for some reason. I'm always like, oh, this is cool. It's like an added spice. It's great.
Oh yeah,
it's great. So now you've already had, despite the fact that you've only been like an artist going under this name for a fairly short amount of time, you've already gotten a chance to play overseas. Is that right?
No, going to actually. Yes,
okay.
In October. Actually, that's going to be what's going to happen. Is we were invited to Loud and Proud Festival 2018. So that's my international debut in Germany, cool. Betzdorf, Germany. We're going to go out there and play our first show overseas. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to say hi to Ryan Clark for me, since Steven Hunter's going to be on that bill too.
Okay.
That's
cool.
going to be fun.
Ryan
That's going to be
Clark.
fun. There you go. Cool. So what does the future look like now? Obviously the new record's dropping on the 17th of August. Get it? And in addition to that, I know that you guys are working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Anytime it's close to record release time, there's always stuff brewing. What else should fans be looking forward to at this point?
For the future, I think music videos. We have definitely filmed a couple this last year. We're just kind of waiting on Capitol Records to release it, and it all has to be at a certain timing. So music videos and performances and tours, definitely. We're going to be touring heavily. So just what musicians do is tour and sing to people. Of course, more records eventually. I'm, kind of brainstorming already what I want the next record to be about, so I'm excited, but it's kind of top secret, so I can't really talk about it. All right. We'll keep it secret.
Just between you and me and the cameras. That's it. Nobody else. That's all right. Well, now, I always feel like there's always something else that I never ask, that somebody always wants to say, either about their project or about themselves, that they want to get out there. Is there anything that I haven't asked about that you just really want people to know at this point?
Not really, man. Everything you asked was great, and I'm just excited. For this record, I really hope that people give it a chance and listen to it, and not compare me to every female front-end artist that
because you're all the same, right?
We all sound like Hayley Williams, apparently, from Paramore. So please give it a chance, buy the record, and don't clump us in one category.
Oh my god, it's so true though. I don't know what the deal is, but everyone's always like, "Oh, well, it's a female-fronted rock band." It's like, yes, and there's more. I know there's more.
And you never see it happening to guy vocalists. It's like, oh yeah, that guy sounds like whatever, put here in this blank space with some male-fronted band. Like,
that's right.
They don't get clumped like that. So I'm like, well, it's hard. It's hard to be a female in rock. It really is. But it's over time. I know that Zahna's gonna differentiate itself and be different and be its own identity, and people just need to listen to this record. So that's why I'm pushing it. Just pick it up, give it a chance.
Well, that brings up a good question though. I mean, you had mentioned kind of the problem of being a female fronted artist. Everyone wants to just like, that is the label, like that's everything. It's just that you're a female fronted artist. But what do you think, maybe aside from that, what is the biggest challenge being the lead singer of a rock band and being a female? I mean, I know that comes with a unique set of challenges, and that doesn't define you, but that's always part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I've come across in my journey a lot of and I'm learning how to handle them better, but it's like when you're talking to somebody, usually a male, like they don't really take you seriously sometimes. Sure. And they're just kind of like brush you off and be like, or, it's kind of hard because it's like for radio play, they only have a certain set amount for female vocalists that they can air, and I'm just like, dude, like, are they, they'll pick like a few female artists that like, the greats, which I totally agree. They're great. And they're just play them, and it's like, well, yeah, but what about the small artists? Not, so I think, and it's understandable, you're going to have that friction if you're a new artist, and you really have to just buckle up and show people what you are, and that takes time. It takes time for people. I heard someone say people don't really buy music for the sound anymore, they buy it because of the brand. So it takes time to solidify your brand and make people want to get interested. For example, like photographs are so important. You were telling me, oh, these photos are cool. I spend a lot of time on outfits and photos because I know when people look, especially being a female, they're gonna get curious and be like, oh, she has a cool look, well, let me see if she sucks or not. They actually want to see more if you're gonna be bad, and they'll check you out because of that instead of giving you a chance and thinking if you're gonna be good. And I've done it before too. Like, I'm not even guilty. Like, for female rappers, I don't really trust they're good until I hear them. So I get it. I get the scrutiny, but I know that I'm good, and I know that these songs are beautiful and people will love them when they listen to it. So it's just my responsibility to prove to people that I'm a good person, and I love music, and I can give them something that they're emotionally can attach to, because that's my job as an artist, is to move you emotionally. Sure. So yeah, it just takes time, and I know it's gonna get there. So
nice. Well, I always like to end on kind of a question that's a little bit less serious. Your album is called Red for War, so I was trying to think of some fun tie-in to that. But what is it, the one thing for you that just makes you want to go to war over, that's not really of any consequence, but just is a pet peeve of yours, that if you're going to go off on somebody else in the van on tour, this is like the one thing that is like instantly going to get you? Because I feel like everyone's got one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I just think maybe like people saying like, oh, you can't do it. Like, you think you're not, you think you're so great that you can do this as a living. You think that, and I'm like, it's not about my talent. It's not about my pride thinking that I can do it for a living. But I do believe that God is bigger than all my fears and all my insecurities. And, just people saying, oh, the doubters, and everybody has doubters that you have to kind of prove wrong and prove to yourself too. There was a long time I didn't really believe I would deserve to be on a stage. I battle all the time thinking I'm really not that great of a singer, or this and this and that, and people tell me like, what are you talking about? These songs are so good. And it's like, it's just that voice in your head. But yeah, just that, like, everybody has doubters, and that's, you gotta fight to show what you're made of, no matter what people say, no matter what how they try to make you feel powerless, you are capable of doing everything you dreamed. So yeah. There you
go. So take that dream, realize it, and go get it. And it's funny because as you were saying that, like, all I could hear in my head was that line from "You Can't Stop Me." It's my biggest enemy is me, and even I can't stop me.
Yeah, exactly. It took a long time for me to register, like, dude, that voice is yours. It's not even other people's. It's yours. It's what you keep saying to yourself. And going through a lot of trials freestyles that I did so far in the industry, just realizing, man, like, you don't need any of these people that are holding you down. You can just do it. And I think that was why it was such a big reason I decided to come out as a solo artist, because I'm like, you know I'm capable of this. I don't need to rely on anyone. If I'm smart and I'm kind and I'm humble, I know people will help me, and that's all you need. And you just need to be smart, and that's it.
There you go. Well, Zahna, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a blast. It was everything I'd hoped it would be and more, and I can't wait to get a chance to spend some real time with the new record, and
Yes.
I know that people are going to love it. So if you haven't heard the single or you haven't picked up the record yet, at the very least, let's face it, there's no excuses these days. You can stream it. If you really like it, then you should buy it, but you should definitely check it out no matter what. Zahna, get it. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate being here. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.